Most men think lasting longer in bed is about stamina or some secret trick. But here's the truth, it's all about choosing the right positions. Imagine sex like a dance, pick the wrong moves, and you stumble off the floor too fast. But pick the right rhythm, and suddenly, you're leading with control, confidence, and she's following your every move in pure ecstasy. And here's the kicker, these positions don't just save you from finishing too soon. They make her crave you even more. In this video, I'm revealing 9 unique positions women are dying to try, and once you know them, you'll never look at the bedroom the same way again. The core principles of stamina-preserving positions. When it comes to lasting longer in the bedroom, there's one crucial truth that most men overlook. The choice of position can either work for you or against you. The secret isn't about gimmicks, distractions, or forcing yourself to think of something else. The real foundation lies in understanding how your body reacts to different levels of stimulation, and then using that knowledge to your advantage. Think about it this way, every position has its own stimulation profile. Some positions allow for deep penetration and rapid, forceful thrusts. These can feel amazing, but they also tend to push men toward climax far too quickly. It's like hitting the gas pedal to the floor, you're guaranteed to speed up, but you're also going to burn out fast. On the other hand, positions that naturally encourage shallow penetration, slower rhythms, and controlled movement are like driving in cruise control, steady, smooth, and sustainable. Science backs this up. Studies in sexual medicine show that overstimulation of the most sensitive areas of the penis, especially through deep, repeated thrusting, accelerates arousal and shortens endurance. Conversely, when penetration is shallower and motion is steadier, the body has more time to adapt, giving you greater control over when and how you climax. This isn't just theory, it's physiology. Another key factor is practicality. If a position is too complicated, requires constant adjustment, or feels awkward, it breaks the flow. That interruption not only distracts you but also makes it harder to stay relaxed and in control. The best positions for stamina are the ones that feel natural, easy to maintain, and allow you to focus on connection and rhythm rather than mechanics. Ultimately, lasting longer isn't about doing less, it's about doing smarter. By choosing positions that minimize overstimulation, emphasize slow and steady movements, and are comfortable enough to sustain, you set the stage for better control, deeper intimacy, and more satisfying experiences for both you and your partner. Position 1. Cowgirl, woman on top. If there's one position that perfectly combines pleasure, control, and longevity, it's the timeless cowgirl. At first glance, it seems simple. The man lies back while the woman climbs on top, straddling his hips. But beneath that simplicity lies a set of mechanics that make it one of the best positions for stamina and satisfaction alike. From a physiological standpoint, cowgirl minimizes the man's ability to thrust with speed or force. Think of it as putting a sports car into neutral. The engine is still powerful, but the wheels don't spin out of control. Instead of rapid, deep movements that accelerate arousal too quickly, this position naturally shifts the dynamic toward slow grinding and rhythmic motion. The man's role becomes more passive, which reduces overstimulation, while the woman takes the driver's seat, adjusting the pace and depth to her liking. Science supports this. Research in sexual medicine shows that shallower, slower movements significantly reduce penile hypersensitivity, the very trigger that often leads to climax too soon. By letting the woman control both depth and tempo, the man gains a powerful ally in endurance. It's less about suppressing pleasure and more about channeling it into a sustainable rhythm. But cowgirl isn't just about control, it's also about connection. With the woman on top, eye contact becomes effortless, and intimacy takes center stage. She can lean forward for kisses, whisper in your ear, or simply lock gazes, all of which enhance emotional bonding, a critical factor for her satisfaction. At the same time, the angle of penetration combined with the grinding motion provides excellent stimulation for the clitoris, often bringing her closer to orgasm than many thrust-heavy positions. Humorously speaking, you could call cowgirl the lazy man's hero move. You're literally lying back while she does most of the work. Yet she's likely to feel more in control, more pleasured, and more connected. That's a win-win. Of course, communication is essential if you're getting close. Let her know. She can slow down, pause, or change her movement style to help you reset. In short, cowgirl isn't just a position, it's a partnership. It slows down the tempo, hands her the reins, and gives you both a chance to enjoy the ride without rushing to the finish line. Position 2. Spooning, side lying from behind. Spooning isn't just for lazy Sunday mornings and cozy Netflix binges, it's also one of the smartest stamina-saving positions you can use. The setup is simple. Both partners lie on their sides, with the man behind the woman. Bodies pressed together like two puzzle pieces. The intimacy of this position makes it an all-time favorite. But from a scientific angle, it's also a goldmine for control and endurance. Why does it work so well? It all comes down to mechanics. In spooning, the thrusting angle naturally limits depth and range of motion. Instead of long, intense strokes that can quickly push arousal past the point of no return, you're working with short, shallow movements. Imagine jogging at a steady pace instead of sprinting at full speed. You can go longer, smoother, and with less exhaustion. Neurologically, shorter strokes reduce overstimulation of the pineal glands, the area most sensitive to touch and pressure. With less direct overload, your body buys more time before climax. At the same time, this angle is perfect for hitting the G-spot, which means she's having a great time even as you're staying in control. Add in the option of using your hands, whether to stimulate her clitoris, caress her body, or simply hold her close, and spooning becomes both practical and deeply intimate. Another advantage? Comfort. Because both partners are lying down, there's no strain on muscles or awkward balancing acts. You can relax, breathe steadily, and stay focused on rhythm rather than wrestling with angles. Relaxation reduces anxiety, and anxiety is often one of the biggest culprits behind finishing too soon. Humorously, you could call this the comfort food of positions: warm, cozy, and deeply satisfying. It's not flashy, but it gets the job done beautifully. And because you're chest to back, the cuddling factor is off the charts. Whispering in her ear or wrapping your arm around her waist adds an extra layer of intimacy that fast, acrobatic positions can't match. In short, spooning gives you endurance, comfort, and closeness all rolled into one. It's proof that sometimes the simplest moves are the most effective and the most memorable. Position 3. Side by side, facing each other. Think of side by side as spooning's intimate twin. Instead of both facing the same direction, you and your partner lie on your sides, face to face, bodies aligned. She lifts her leg to drape over your hip, and suddenly you've got access to a position that's not only cozy but also remarkably effective for lasting longer. The science behind this position mirrors spooning: shallow penetration and restricted thrusting range. Because you're lying side by side, your hips can't generate the kind of rapid, deep motion that often accelerates climax. Instead, your body naturally moves at a slower, more deliberate pace. This reduces overstimulation, giving you more staying power. But side by side adds another crucial layer: intimacy. Eye contact is easy, kissing is natural, and the closeness is undeniable. Psychological research on sexual satisfaction consistently highlights the importance of emotional connection. And this position is tailor-made for it. When you're literally nose to nose, every breath and touch feels amplified, making the experience more than just physical. From her perspective, the angle can be incredibly pleasurable, especially if you adjust slightly to align with her G-spot. The closeness also allows for synchronized movement. Think of it as a dance where both partners are perfectly in step. Instead of focusing on performance, you're focusing on harmony. There's also a humorous side here. Side by side might not win any points for gymnastic flair, but it's like the slow dance at prom of sex positions. Gentle, romantic, and unforgettable. You're not rushing to the finish line, you're savoring the song. Practically speaking, the position is low effort. There's no heavy lifting, no awkward balancing, and no need to reposition constantly. This comfort makes it easier to stay relaxed, which again feeds directly into better control and endurance. In short, side by side combines the stamina benefits of shallow penetration with the emotional payoff of face-to-face intimacy. It's not just about lasting longer, it's about building connection while doing so. Position 4. The cross, X shape. The cross is a lesser-known gem, but once you try it, you'll wonder why it's not more famous. Both partners lie on their backs, forming a rough, X shape. The woman's torso is angled across the man's body at about 90 degrees. Her legs draped over his hips, allowing for penetration from above. It looks unusual at first, but the benefits are undeniable. Mechanically, the cross is designed for control. Because of the angle, your hips can't move in long, rapid thrusts. The geometry naturally limits motion, keeping everything short and steady. This built-in restriction is a lifesaver for men who struggle with finishing too fast. Think of it as training wheels for endurance. You literally can't go too hard, too fast. From a physiological perspective, the reduced thrusting depth means less stimulation of the most sensitive nerve endings. Instead, pleasure is distributed more evenly, allowing you to enjoy the sensations without being overwhelmed. Meanwhile, the unique angle often provides her with strong internal stimulation, especially if you adjust your hips slightly. Comfort is another big plus. Because both of you are lying down, there's no strain on your arms, legs, or back. You can focus on rhythm, breathing, and connection rather than worrying about fatigue. This relaxed state helps maintain control and prolongs pleasure. Emotionally, the cross feels different from traditional positions. The unusual angle creates a sense of novelty, breaking routine and keeping things exciting. Novelty, according to relationship research, is a key ingredient in keeping passion alive. Trying something new together strengthens the sense of partnership and playfulness. Humorously, the cross could be nicknamed the X marks the spot of sex positions. It's easy, effective, and surprisingly pleasurable for both partners, despite looking like you're solving a geometry puzzle in bed. In short, the cross is a win-win: limited motion for him, high stimulation for her, and comfort for both. It's a perfect example of how unconventional positions can deliver big results. Position 5. Lazy dog. Doggy style has a reputation as the wild stallion of the bedroom, intense, visually stimulating, and incredibly pleasurable. But with all that excitement comes a major downside: it's often too much, too soon. Many men find themselves pushed over the edge quickly in classic doggy because the angle allows deep penetration and powerful thrusting, which overstimulates sensitive nerve endings. Enter the lazy dog, the calmer, more sustainable cousin that lets you enjoy the thrill of doggy without losing control. In lazy dog, both partners lie down. She lies on her stomach, while he positions himself on top, entering from behind. It's similar to spooning but with her body face down rather than on her side. This subtle shift completely changes the dynamics. By lying down, the man's hips can't generate the same momentum as they do in upright doggy, which naturally limits the depth and speed of thrusting. Think of it as switching from sprinting to slow jogging. You still move forward, but in a controlled, measured way. Physiologically, this reduced depth is crucial. The glans, the tip of the penis, contains the highest concentration of nerve endings, which is why deep, fast thrusting often triggers climax too quickly. Lazy dog distributes sensation more evenly across the shaft rather than hammering the most sensitive areas, making it easier to regulate arousal. In essence, the position dials down the volume of stimulation while keeping the music playing. For her, lazy dog offers a different but equally enjoyable experience. The angle provides a snug fit, and the close body contact delivers an intimate sense of security. Unlike standard doggy, where there can be distance between partners, lazy dog brings the chest, torso, and even faces closer together. That closeness fosters intimacy, creating an experience that feels both passionate and affectionate. There's also a psychological benefit. Because lazy dog is physically less strenuous, no balancing on hands or knees, both partners can relax more. Relaxation lowers performance anxiety, a major factor in premature climax. And when a man feels in control, his confidence soars, which in turn makes the experience more enjoyable for both. If regular doggy is the high-octane sports car, lazy dog is the luxury sedan, smooth, steady, and built for endurance. It proves that sometimes, slowing things down doesn't make the ride less thrilling, it makes it last longer. Position 6. Girl on top, chest to chest and sitting on a chair. If lazy dog is about calming the storm, then these positions are about handing over the steering wheel. Girl on top, chest to chest and sitting on a chair are game changers because they flip the dynamic. She's in charge, and you get to enjoy the ride all while lasting longer. In girl on top, chest to chest, the woman straddles the man. But instead of sitting upright like classic cowgirl, she leans forward until their bodies are pressed together. Think of it as a passionate hug with movement. In sitting on a chair, the man remains seated, and she lowers herself onto his lap, facing toward or away from him. Both positions have one thing in common: the woman sets the pace. From a physiological perspective, this shift is a blessing for men who struggle with endurance. Because thrusting is no longer under your control, you can't accidentally push yourself too far, too fast. Instead, Her grinding motion creates more lateral friction, sliding, circling, rocking, which stimulates you less intensely than deep, rapid thrusts. For her, however, this grinding motion often provides superior clitoral stimulation, making these positions especially pleasurable. Science calls this a dual benefit: decreased overstimulation for him, increased arousal for her. Psychologically, these positions carry another benefit: they reduce performance pressure. Men often feel the burden of leading in the bedroom, which can increase anxiety and shorten stamina. But when she's on top or taking the lead in a seated position, that pressure dissolves. You can focus on enjoying the connection, her movements, and the intimacy of being chest to chest or wrapped together on a chair. Humorously, you could call this the chauffeur switch. You're no longer driving, you're the passenger, watching the scenery, enjoying the ride. And yet, paradoxically, because she's doing most of the work, she feels empowered and pleasured, while you gain more staying power. Everyone wins. These positions also score high on intimacy. Chest to chest, you can whisper, kiss, and breathe together. On the chair, you're eye level, adding to the romance. They're positions that combine practicality with passion, and they prove that sometimes the best way to be a strong lover is to let her take control. Position 7. Non-penetrative missionary. At first, the idea of missionary without penetration might sound strange, like playing a song without the chorus. But this position, often called outer course, is an underrated technique that not only helps men preserve stamina but also brings women intense pleasure. Here's how it works. You lie on top of your partner as in traditional missionary. But instead of entering, you rub the shaft of your penis along her lips or clitoris. The warmth, the closeness, the skin-to-skin contact, it's all there. But the overstimulation that typically leads to climax is dramatically reduced. The science is straightforward. The glans, the tip, is the most sensitive area, packed with nerve endings. By focusing stimulation on the shaft, which has fewer nerve endings, you lower the chances of hitting the point of no return too quickly. Meanwhile, for women, clitoral stimulation is often the most reliable pathway to orgasm. In fact, research shows that the majority of women require clitoral involvement for climax. And this position delivers it directly. From a psychological perspective, this move also builds anticipation. It's like teasing a grand finale in a concert. The energy builds. The crowd waits. And when the chorus finally drops, it's unforgettable. Outer course keeps the sexual tension alive, making the eventual penetration, if you choose it, even more explosive. Humorously, you might think of this as the slow cooker method of intimacy. Instead of rushing the meal, you let the flavors simmer. And the result is richer, deeper, and more satisfying. For her, it's indulgence. For you, it's control. The position also encourages tenderness. Because you're not driving toward climax, you have more freedom to kiss, touch, and connect. The focus shifts from finishing to savoring. And that shift alone can transform the entire experience. In short, non-penetrative missionary isn't about doing less, it's about doing different. It's proof that satisfaction doesn't always depend on speed or depth. Sometimes the lightest touch can leave the strongest impression. Position 8. Grinding missionary. Missionary is often misunderstood. It's dismissed as basic, or worse, rushed through because it can push men past the edge too quickly. But with a simple twist, it transforms into one of the most effective stamina-friendly positions: grinding missionary. Here's how it works. Penetration happens as usual. But instead of thrusting in and out, the man stays deep inside and grinds his hips against hers. The motion is more about sliding and circling than thrusting, which reduces stimulation for him while amplifying pleasure for her. Scientifically, the difference is clear. Thrusting creates repetitive friction on the glands, quickly leading to climax. Grinding, however, distributes sensation across the shaft and base, reducing hypersensitivity. For men, that means more control. For women, the pressure against the clitoris combined with internal fullness creates what researchers call dual stimulation, a powerful recipe for orgasm. Psychologically, grinding missionary also removes the pressure of constant motion. Because the movement is slower and more controlled, men can focus on breathing, pacing, and emotional connection rather than performance. The closeness of full body contact adds intimacy, reinforcing the bond between partners. Think of it like taking a classic song and giving it a remix. The melody is familiar, missionary is easy and natural, but the rhythm is brand new. Instead of racing through the track, you stretch it out, savoring every beat. It's comfortable, accessible, and incredibly effective. Humorously, you could call this the staycation of positions. You're not rushing anywhere, you're enjoying where you already are. And in doing so, you discover that slowing down often creates more pleasure than speeding up. Ultimately, grinding missionary turns one of the most common positions into one of the most powerful tools for stamina. It's simple, it's effective, and it proves that small changes in rhythm can lead to massive improvements in connection and satisfaction. Position 9. The grinding close-up. If sex positions were musical arrangements, the grinding close-up would be the soulful remix of a timeless classic. It takes something familiar, slows it down, and transforms it into a brand new experience, one that's all about savoring intimacy, building rhythm, and staying in control. Here's how it works. Both partners remain face to face in the traditional setup. But instead of thrusting in and out, the man stays fully inside. Movement comes from grinding, rocking the hips in circles, sliding gently, or pressing in steady motions. It's not about the push and pull of speed, it's about the closeness of continuous contact. Think of it as switching from sprinting to slow dancing, same passion, completely different energy. Physiologically, this change is a lifesaver for men who want more stamina. Deep, fast thrusts bombard the glands, the tip of the penis, where the highest concentration of nerve endings is located, leading quickly to climax. Grinding, however, distributes sensation more evenly across the shaft and pelvis, reducing hypersensitivity and slowing down arousal. In other words, you're lowering the volume of stimulation without losing the music. For women, the benefits are just as powerful. Grinding creates constant pressure against the clitoris while maintaining fullness inside, producing what researchers call dual stimulation. This combination, external plus internal pleasure, is one of the most reliable ways for women to achieve orgasm. Add to that the intimacy of face-to-face closeness, and you have a position that's not only physically satisfying but also emotionally rich. Psychologically, the grinding close-up changes the tone of the encounter. Because there's no rush, you and your partner can relax, connect, and savor each other's presence. Eye contact, kisses, whispered words, everything flows naturally when you're not racing toward the finish line. Instead of feeling like a performance, it feels like a conversation between bodies. Humorously, you could call this the staycation of sex positions. You're not rushing anywhere, not going on a wild adventure. But by staying right where you are, you discover pleasure that's deeper, longer lasting, and more meaningful. In short, the grinding close-up is the perfect finale to the stamina saving list. It allows men to maintain control, gives women the kind of stimulation they crave, and wraps both in an atmosphere of intimacy and connection. It's proof that sometimes the smallest changes in rhythm create the biggest impact, turning the familiar into something unforgettable. The story of James and Emily. James and Emily had been married for 6 years, living in a quiet town outside London. Like many couples, their relationship was filled with love, laughter, and shared dreams. But there was one area where James often felt insecure: the bedroom. He loved his wife deeply, yet sometimes he struggled to match her rhythm, worried that he couldn't give her the experience she truly deserved. Instead of ignoring the issue, James decided to learn. He began reading articles, listening to expert advice, and discovering new ways to create more balance and control. That's when he stumbled upon positions designed not only to help men last longer but also to heighten a woman's pleasure. One evening, James suggested they try something different, starting with the cowgirl position, giving Emily control of the pace. She was surprised but delighted, enjoying the chance to guide their rhythm. On another night, they explored the spooning position, which allowed James to stay steady while Emily felt cherished and secure in his arms. With each discovery, their connection grew deeper. For Emily, the change was profound. She began to feel more fulfilled, not only physically but emotionally. Their intimacy no longer felt rushed or pressured, it became playful, tender, and deeply satisfying. She noticed herself smiling more often, feeling lighter, more confident, and more loved. For James, the transformation wasn't just about skill. It was about realizing that true passion comes from presence, patience, and understanding. By focusing less on performance and more on Emily's experience, he found his own confidence blossoming. Their friends would often comment on how radiant Emily looked, and she would simply laugh, knowing that the secret wasn't a new diet or hobby, it was the renewed intimacy she shared with her husband. James and Emily's story reminds us that intimacy isn't about perfection, it's about learning, adapting, and putting love at the center. And when love leads, pleasure naturally follows. Conclusion: the true secret of great sex. After exploring 9 stamina-saving positions, there's one truth that stands above technique. Sex is as much about emotional connection as it is about physical skill. You can master every angle, pace yourself perfectly, and last longer than ever before, but without intimacy, it risks feeling mechanical, like a routine rather than an experience. For women especially, pleasure isn't only about the body, it's deeply tied to the heart and mind. When she feels safe, cherished, and emotionally connected, her body responds more openly, her arousal deepens, and climax comes more naturally. Without that trust and intimacy, even the best techniques fall flat. Think of sex as a symphony. Positions and movements are the instruments essential. Yes, but only half the music. Emotional connection is the conductor, blending everything into harmony. Without the conductor, the instruments play, but the song has no soul. Without connection, intimacy becomes noise instead of melody. This is why communication matters. A lingering gaze, a whispered word, a touch that says, "I'm here with you." These gestures often carry more power than the most elaborate moves. They transform sex from an act into an experience, from release into true connection. The real secret, then, isn't just knowing how to move, but knowing how to be present, to breathe together, to laugh together, to trust each other. When you combine the science of stamina with the art of emotional intimacy, you don't just last longer, you make her want to come back again and again. Thank you for listening until the very end. If today's story has gently stirred your heart, whether through an old memory, a present feeling, or something never spoken into words, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. Intimate wisdom is where we come together to touch the hidden corners of love, affection, and sexuality, things that may seem private, yet are in fact the very core of happiness. I wish you to always love deeply, live truthfully, and find yourself in every glance, every touch, and every trembling heartbeat. Affectionate greetings.